What's up, clean freaks? My name's Hank Balch. You are watching the Sterile Packaging Expert series here on Beyond Clean with the packaging princess herself, Malinda Elammari, clinical education specialist at Healthmark Industries, a Getinge Company. And you're tuning in now to episode 11, On the Move, How to Keep Packaging Safe in Transport. So, Malinda, we've talked a ton in this series about what happens and why and what should not happen to packaging in sterile processing. On this episode, we're going to kind of talk about, hey, when that packaging is moving around, it's already done, it's been sterilized, it's either coming in and out of sterile storage, or it's actually leaving our department and being transported across to the four winds. And there's some considerations in play to ensure that all the work we've done up to this point stays good. So what are some of those common, let's say, transportation faux pas that folks can do that can undermine this packaging integrity that we worked so hard to get to this point?
Oh, there's so many. But first I want to say we're really moving on up on our
Are
list,
we now?
Yeah. To the east side. We finally got a piece of... Okay, anyway.
Okay, yeah. Please don't make me
like-
dance. But that's a hard song not to dance to. So continue.
Grits don't burn in the kitchen. Anyway, okay. So to your point, to your question, Hank, there's so many things. First, I want to say that Amy is working on a technical information report on transportation of medical devices. So that it's TIR 109, and that should be coming out hopefully any day now. So it's been a labor of love for the last, 2 to 3 years, I think, that we've been working on this. So excited about that because it's really going to help give guidance on the whole transportation concept of medical devices. So, so be on the lookout for that one. But to your point, there's a lot of different factors that happen. Things that we see within the industry out there are, let's say the way that they are carried. Let's just start there, right? Like carrying a tray like a suitcase. Mm-hmm. Right, where they, just grab the handle and it's just dangling and hanging,
right,
and they're just walking through, and I'm like, oh, my heart cringes.
That's how you
so
show how
bad.
strong you are, right? Like
yeah,
one hand.
I guess, right? Like that's now we're moving into like, wait, see, dang it, I forgot my other card. Anyway, that'll come back to me. But carrying trays like that. Why do we not want to do that? There's so many things that happen when we do that. And two of the most crucial concepts is, first, the metal mass, right? So all of the metal and all the lineup that technician went through to make sure the metal mass was evenly spread throughout that tray and stuff, and instruments are protected, now shifts on top of each other. And all of that is hitting on top of each other, and you're causing damage to that passivation layer of those instruments. And now you're just breaking down your instruments a lot faster. The other major aspect to this is if one of those instruments, let's say, pokes through the filter of a rigid container, you now just damage your whole packaging integrity, right? That sterile barrier system. So those are two major things. Like, we don't want to carry it like that. Same concept for storing, right? Like, you don't want to store it on the sides like that. And, people are like, I don't understand. Why can't I just put it on its edge and stuff? It's like, because, there's reasons. So that's, that, let's say I see people carrying peel pouches in their pockets. They will put, like, for some reason, I don't know, it's this concept that a peel pouch is indestructible. It's like, we think about it for rigid containers, but truly the way we act is like peel pouches are indestructible. We throw them everywhere. We put them on case carts anywhere. We do whatever we just go crazy with peel pouches, and like we don't protect them. Put them in our pockets. You know, I've seen people carrying them under their arms. You know, they don't have enough room. They stick the pouch under their arm. I've seen them,
Which is
you
a
know,
sterile area, right?
yeah. I always say if you have deodorant on, it is. You know, or, you know, like carrying them in their teeth. I seen one person like have the edge of the pouch in their teeth, and they're like their hands are full, and I'm like, oh my God, what is happening right now? So,
So those are things not to do.
yes, exactly. Not
Maybe let's
to do.
transition to best practices when
Yeah.
you're steriling them. When you're transporting them compliantly, what are the things that you would recommend, you know, prioritizing maybe as you're training or you're developing layouts for transport, etc.?
Yeah, I think when we're talking about transportation, we have to make sure we're educating behind the whys, right? Why, once again, can I not carry this as like a suitcase? Why do I have to carry it horizontal to the floor? You know, why with a peel pouch should I be extra cautious and protective of the pouch and not have it stuck between two rigid containers kind of thing? You know, so, or why can I not carry it in my pocket? You know, what is the big problem? What's the big deal behind that? And so I think, you know, when we're developing our education and our training, we need to think about transport. And I don't, you know, there's very few and far between like facilities that actually talk about transportation in their education. You know, and, you know, obviously they talk about don't mixing clean and dirty, but what about these other key factors that come to play with it, with the process?
And I think we alluded to in one of the earlier episodes, the who behind the transporting piece is important, not because this is a people challenge, it is a process challenge, but you want to make sure those who's have been trained, to your point, because you can do all the training sterile processing, but if there's other who's that are transporting your devices, maybe like anesthesia techs, maybe nurses, scrub techs, um, e- even the vendor community, they all need that same level of training so that we have standard practice across the board, Melinda. So, great insight there. We're going to pull you back in for one more episode in this series to wrap up on the misconceptions and myths out there around packaging and packaging methods and sterile processing. There's a bunch of them, but we'll just cover a couple in that episode. But just in case folks have more questions about these topics, transport in particular, I know you mentioned the TIR that's coming out. We're going to have your contact info in the show notes in case folks want to reach out. And if you missed any of the previous interviews, we have covered a lot of ground, as I alluded to, a lot of fun conversations, a lot of puns along the way. So go check those out. And make sure to connect with Melinda directly through LinkedIn as well. I know you're on there, you're active, constantly giving a lot of education out there. So really recommend folks doing that. And until we talk to you again for episode 12 coming up next week, like we remind you each and every week here at Beyond Clean, keep fighting dirty.